I want to talk about class systems found in the world, but first I need to explain a term, ghetto. It's actually where I grew up, but it's based on the idea of a people set apart, having their own rules, and are generally impoverished or less money given to them. It's specifically referring to Jews, but really it can be any minority group or any group considered not part of the main group or the whole or the majority. Here we have an average ghetto. It's kind of run down, but honestly, if you look, it also has a certain middle-class feel to it. That's because middle-class places can also be ghetto. It's kind of strange to think about when you first start to look at it. Ghettos can be useful. For example, the Dutch used a ghetto to do trade with Japan for several years, and many other factors have opened up areas for people who want to do trade and have other systems to open up. The only thing you really need to notice is that the officials are not in charge of this area. It is run by the people inside of it. Here we have an average non-ghetto, a normal area. You start to shoot, people come after you, the police come after you. There is no way you can escape because the police are now after you, all officials know who you are. Let's try the exact same thing in the ghetto. We run up, we fire, no warning whatsoever, and we're pretty much good. This is because the people themselves run the area, and the police try to stay out of it. Here, I'll show you another reason why. Here we have the police trying to engage in the ghetto. Unfortunately for them, everyone involved is just shooting them, because this is their territory and the police can go away. Also, I'm terrible with controls once more. What does this mean? It means the police themselves have no reason to go in because it is a danger to them. This area is owned and run by this other group. It is ghetto, and you do not go in unless you are also ghetto. I actually grew up in ghettos, so I know what it's like and what happens in ghettos. And one of the first things I gotta tell you is, I honestly didn't know what the laws were. Because I was never really told, or I was told all sorts of different things. Like, oh yes, this casino should be here because, it's the law, it allows us. And I would go and I'd look it up and I couldn't find it. Turns out they were lying, they were just being ghetto. When something like COVID-19 happens in Yakima, the people themselves don't know what to do. They're told, oh, you gotta wear masks because that's what we said. But to be honest, Yakima is accustomed to not listening to the rules, not doing as they're told. So they end up with a lot more cases of COVID-19 than anyone else. And it kind of baffles the people who live on the outskirts who, I don't know how to put this politely, they're richer than us. They've got some money. They've got some sway, if you know what I mean. And they are kind of going, oh, how dare these people not listen to the rules? But the reality is, Yakima itself, its entire economy is based on the idea that these rules don't work, and we get to rule ourselves. This has worked in the ghetto back in the day. The Jews would be separated from others, but they would have their own rules and they would rule over themselves and they would be okay because of this. It proved more beneficial to them to be separate than it was to work within the system. And because of this, places like Yakima do the same. Because of all this, there becomes a cultural difference between ghetto and non-ghetto. You could be living in poverty, but expect the police to come when you call them. You could be living in middle-classdom, but you do not expect the police to come when you're ghetto. It actually shocked me when I moved to a poor neighborhood that wasn't ghetto. I called the cops, and they showed up. They showed up in force. It weirded me out, because I was accustomed to the police not doing something like that.